Welcome, baseball fans, wherever you are, to the Highland Bullpen. And this is the critical moment of the season. 10 games or less remaining for our teams, and it's all to play for 3 of the 4 teams represented in the Highland Bullpen. But we'll also have plenty of contributions from Dave Jr. to cast a neutral eye on how he thinks the Tigers, the Red Sox, and the Mariners are going to do as we go into the end of the season, and hopefully for the bullpen teams into the post-season as well. But we'll start off with a team that currently have the best record among the bullpen, but only just. Alan, Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to lead off on this podcast. I wouldn't be too confident if we come back before the end of the season that I'll be given that privilege as the leading member of the bullpen. Indeed, I think the Tigers have led the AL for something like 180 days, which is quite. I mean, that must be pretty much the whole season, which is quite astonishing. Currently, 10 or so games left, 4.5 games ahead of the Cleveland, ahead of the Guardians, who beat us last year, obviously in the playoffs. It sounds a lot, but it looks like tonight Guardians are on the verge of sweeping the Tigers, which would cut it down by one more. We've got an away series to go to Cleveland to play them. We've got to go to Boston to play the Dave's Red Sox, and we've got the Braves in Detroit as well. So it's a struggle. It's last year when the Tigers made the playoffs and went on that phenomenal run when we went to see them in August. There were so many new emotions I experienced as a baseball fan in terms of every game, every pitch, every inning counts. Having watched for 7 or 8 years, and it never seemed that anything was that important. Similar now, but actually, in some ways, the boot is on the other foot from a team that were leading. A team that are now struggling to get through things. Pitching's actually remained okay. Casey Mize had a decent start the other night. The bullpen has struggled at times. Tonight, Tarek Skubal, I think it's his 7th game of the season where he's gone 6+ innings and allowed only 1 run. But of those, it's the 7th time when he's done that he's come out with a no decision. So he's allowed 1 run in 7 games for 6 innings, and the Tigers have not managed to produce 2 runs in those games. So great pitching needs to be backed up elsewhere on the pitch. The old Italian football teams, great defense, but it was all about winning 1-0, wasn't it? Keep the ball and get that one chance. Baseball's not quite like that. It's difficult for a pitcher to go through the whole game. So I don't know. Yeah, Dave Jr. might have some thoughts as well as a fellow AL Central fan there as well. The Guardians might not be top of our Christmas card list. You might have a different perspective on whether the faltering Tigers can hold on there.
The Guardians are the perennial crap that just won't flush. They're never quite good enough every year to make a real charge of it, but they're always there. They're just a really professional a professional team. And again, from bits that I've picked up over the last 5 years as an avid watcher, and this kind of extends the decade prior, they seem to have a really strong pitching staff that no matter who they lose, if it's an injury, if it's through trades, the guys that they bring up through their system are very capable. Just from start to finish, they don't strike me as a team that really kind of strike fear. And I know we spoke about this earlier, Alan. My view is, if the Guards are to make it to the postseason, it would be as the Central Division winners. I just think that there's the other teams in the wildcard chase throughout the other two divisions are just far too strong. I think the other teams have done the hard work. Personally, I feel the Tigers have done the hard work, and I know that you've got a bit of a trickier next few games, but I think you've got enough in your tank. That's just how I feel. I know that Scooble hasn't had the best outing tonight, you say, but I feel, for me, three of the guys that are just absolute cheat codes just now in the MLB are Scooble, who continues to wow me every time I see him, Garrett Crochet, and Paul Skeens. Whenever I've had a chance to see those three guys, they're fantastic. Having said that, I am on record as saying I think the Mariners have the best all-round rotation, which it really interests me going into the postseason. I really do hope you three guys are there, because I think you can all cause all sorts of problems. Again, to me, Crochet and Scooble, when you're looking at perhaps a 2-game series or a 3-game, to me, those guys are almost that instant win.
Yeah.
It gives you such a chance. If you're the opposition, you know you're going to have to score kind of 2, 3, 4 runs against them. And even then, it's really hard going up against those guys. They're so professional. But I fancy the Tigers to hold on for the Central. I do fancy the Red Sox and the Mariners to make it through. The Mariners, again, I'm not sure if we're coming on to you next, Richard, if this is a wee lead on, but the Mariners visiting the Astros, and it is a bit of a decider coming up, a bit similar to the Tigers and the Guardians, a bit of an interdivision contest coming up.
Absolutely, and it could hardly be any more finely poised. I mean, at the moment, the Mariners, literally as we speak, they're one up, they're one run up. It's 1-0 at the moment against the Royals, but it's only halfway through that game, so that could obviously go either way. But if Seattle win this evening, they will enter that series in Houston with exactly the same record, the same record. And at the moment, they're currently tied in terms of the record against each other this season. So that 3-game series will determine, not just who takes the lead into that closing stretch, but who will hold the advantage should the Mariners and the Astros finish with the same record at the end of the season. So had you asked me a wee while ago, I'd have been not very hopeful at all, because on the road, the Mariners have been markedly less effective than they are at T-Mobile Park. But obviously, they recently had that kind of 10-game winning streak, and that included games on the road as well. We seem to have got into our stride a little bit on our travels. So I'm more hopeful than I was. I think we're good enough to go to Houston and compete and potentially win that series. And that would be a massive bit of momentum to have. But even if we lost it 2-1, although that would effectively mean we'd have to make up 2 games in the Astros, because they'd hold that advantage head to head if that happened. I am hopeful with the closing stretch that we have with the Rockies. And also, it's actually a point I was going to talk to a little bit, is that it's not just the teams you play, it's when you play them. So it looks like we'll be taking on, well, we will be playing the Dodgers in the last series of the season. But fingers crossed, the Dodgers, I think, they'll definitely, even if they win the division, they're not going to finish with a better record than the other two division winners in the National League. So they'll know they will be in that competing earlier on. As long as they're far enough ahead of the Padres can't catch them, and I think there's a good chance of that. Effectively, the Dodgers won't have anything to play for in those last 3 games. Their postseason destiny will already be set. So the hope there is that they'll then not field all of their best guys, maybe give some of the star pitchers a little bit of a break. So I've got hope that whatever happens in Houston, we will still have a decent chance at the division, but definitely hoping very much for the playoffs at least. And I don't know, Dave Jr., do you think that's a factor, that getting a bit lucky sometimes when you play the best teams and how much they've got to play for?
I think so. Just when you said that, Richard, I thought it was a really good point about it's not within their best interest. The Dodgers have got nothing to play for. Again, when we link that into British or European football, quite often that might be you're playing the champions at the end of a season and they literally have nothing to play for. But in baseball, it's actually, you can go one step beyond that. Not only is it in their best interest not to play these players, it really is in their favour to not use their best pitching guys. They might want to give them that rest ahead of starting an upcoming wild card or a divisional series. So it's completely in their interest to play a weakened team, not just, oh yeah, we'll give the guys a run out. It really is in their best interest to rest those arms, because as all four of our teams would testify, the way that pitchers' arms are decimated throughout the season, any opportunity to give these guys a rest. It might even mean a position player coming in to pitch a ninth just for the hell of it occasionally. But yeah, it really is. And teams like Boston might be fighting till the very death against Detroit. So I'm just wondering, Dave, how do you feel the last few weeks and the upcoming week are going for the Red Sox?
Well, when you look at our last broadcast, which is almost exactly a month ago, we entitled it "The Heat is On," that episode, and it's the temperature's rising. If anything, last time out, Boston was sitting in second place in the division, just 1.5 games clear of the Yankees, and plus 1.5 games in the wild card spot. They were actually only 4.5 games back from Toronto, with 40 games left. So you were talking about Boston being legitimate challengers for the AL East division, and we can no longer say that. I'm afraid with just 10 games remaining, we find ourselves 6 games behind the Blue Jays. We're still in first place, 2 games back from the Yankees, who have switched places with Boston. We're still in the wild card spot now, but we're tied with Rich's Seattle. We have exactly the same record, 83-69, going into today's game, which they're both playing at the moment. It's not looking particularly good for Boston against the A's. They're going to have to find another win from somewhere like they did last night. You mentioned the Cleveland Guardians. They're breathing down both our necks, and they're on quite a run. I think they're 9-1 in the last 10 games. So I think they're just 2.5 games behind the wild card spot. So no playoff chickens have been counted just yet, but we do remain hopeful. This is what manager Alex Cora said last night. I'm going to quote him. It's really interesting. He says, "A good friend of mine told me today that September is to suffer because you've still got teams around you, and you win, and then you look at the scoreboard and you suffer." By which he means that you've got your eye on all the other contenders. And he says in October, if you get there, it's head to head. You've got control over whatever happens in that series. But in September, everything gets magnified. But you have to enjoy it. We're blessed to be part of this. But isn't that the truth? And this is coming from Alex Cora, who just the other day recorded his 600th win as Red Sox manager. It's only 2 legends, Joe Cronin with over 1,000 wins as manager between 1935 and 47, and Terry Francona with 744 wins, including a couple of World Series in '04 and '07, have more. So, I've always liked Cora, and he's had to juggle the roster a great deal this season. Every team gets injuries, but I think the Red Sox have had more than their fair share, especially in the last few weeks. The most recent and significant being the injury to the rookie outfielder Roman Anthony, who mentioned in the last program. And you wouldn't think an injury to a rookie could affect the team so much, but he became a key figure in our offense, and he was hitting 292 for average, an OPS of 859, 8 home runs and 32 runs batted in. His at-bats and fielding really showed a maturity beyond his years. And this injury came on top of a longer-term absentee, William Abreu, who's also a right fielder and one of the few power hitters in the lineup after the Rafi Devers trade. So Roman Anthony's call up from AAA coincided with the Red Sox resurgence. But since his injury, we're looking at a losing record of 5-6, and that's looking like going to 5-7 tonight. But I'm finding ways to win, and thanks to Cora's managerial skills and team spirit. Like last night when we recorded a 5-4 comeback win at Fenway Park in extra innings with a pinch hitter, Nick Soda, coming in, and he hit the walk-off run, very unusual way to end the game. It was a fielder's choice single. So, but he made it out, and the guy just got home in time. So that was a really big win. I've always been a big fan of Cora. He gets some criticism, but this is what Garrett Whitlock, who's the setup man in the bullpen for our closer, our oldest Chapman. This is what he said about his manager after recording his 600th win. He said it's special. I think I speak for everyone here when I say he's a people's manager. We all love him and we'll go to war for him. So I couldn't be happier for him. So that says a lot about the team spirit. But it's wins that are important just now, isn't it? And then as I say, they'll have one eye on the Seattle scoreline and the other on the Guardians as well. So I think it's going to be tough. We're going to need his Cora's skills. We've got the game tonight to try and find a win. Then there's a 3-game series in Tampa, but the last 2 series against division leaders, Toronto Blue Jays and Allen's Detroit Tigers. So it's a tough finish. I still feel like we can do it, and we have got 3 very good starting pitchers, like Dave was saying. An ace we've got an ace and possibly AL Cy Young candidate in Garrett Crochet. He's 16-5 at 2.63 ERA. His wins above replacement is 5.7. We've got Lucas Giolito and we've got the homegrown Brian Bayo. Once you get to the playoffs, having 3 starters to rely on is massive, And even in the sort of 5 and 7 game series, you can, they're not saving them for anything, then, aren't they? So you can play your ace on short rest, and you might get 2 or even 3 of them in a 7-game series. So, but you just got to get there, and they've got 5 starters are injured, so they've called up a couple of guys, rookies, and one in particular, his 2 starts, the 23-year-old lefty. He's pitched 10 1/3 innings in his 2 starts and has an ERA of less than 1. I know it's a small, it's only 2 games, but he's got an impressive 18 strikeouts. 11 of those came in his debut start, which has actually tied a franchise record for a starting pitcher on his debut. So yeah, this is actually our first winning season since 2021, believe it or not. And but the regular season is going down to the wire. But for the Red Sox, it's definitely a case in Cora we trust, and just hope for the best. Hope for the best over the next 10 games after tonight, 9 games after tonight.
Certainly be exciting, won't it? And I think I think the Yankees, I know none of us will particularly like to hear this, but I think the Yankees will be safe enough. They've got a relatively benign run in as well. So I do think the Mariners, the Red Sox, and the hard chasing Guardians are going to be. And apologies to everyone in the Buckeye State for the description of Cleveland earlier on, but I think they are the 3 who'll be contending for those last 2 kind of spots here. But I know we often talk about baseball and history and how it seems to be a sport that throws up incredible little pieces of history. And as a Red Sox fan, Dave, I think you'll enjoy this. So when Mickey Mantle hit what was a record 54th home run as a switch hitter in 1961 to set a new home run record for a switch hitter, he did that against the Boston Red Sox, and Karol Jastrzemski got to watch that sailing overhead into the bleachers there. Well, when Cal Raleigh in my opinion, should be MVP this year. When he broke Mickey Mantle's 64-year-old record the other day there with his 55th home run against the Kansas City Royals, Mike Yastrzemski, the grandson of Carroll, watched it
Wow.
sailing over his head, just as his grandfather had done for Mickey Mantle's switch hitting home run record 64 years before. So, yeah, I thought you'd enjoy it. Just another example of these lovely bits of history that baseball tends to throw up.
It's amazing, isn't it? And you know what a season he's having. You know, he broke the record for most home runs by a catcher, didn't he? And then I didn't even actually realize he was a switch hitter. I mean, it's incredible what this guy's doing, and you know, who knows what he's going to finish up with. You know, will he get how many's on now? 56. Did he hit two the other night?
He did. He had, yeah. So he's on 56 now. So I mean, it would be lovely if he can. It's quite a big ask with only 10 games or
Yeah.
nine and a bit left for him to get 4. But they are playing the Rockies. No offense to the Rockies, but there might be an opportunity or two in that series as well. But as we've talked about before on the show, just the achievements. The demand that's placed on catchers every single day that they play, and to do all of that and still contribute an incredible record-breaking number of home runs. It's I doubt we'll see another season from a catcher like this for a long, long time as well. But one thing I did want to ask, Alan, I'd be very keen to hear what you think about this as well, is that our teams still have a good bit of work to do to get their place in the postseason. Let's assume, and we all want it to, that our teams, the three of our 4 teams, make it through to the playoffs. Once we're there, how hopeful are you that we could actually have a right good run at it, Alan? So probably starting with yourself and the Tigers, assuming you get there, and you should. How hopeful will you be once into the postseason?
Yeah, well, yeah, I've reverted into my good old Dewar Highland Presbyterian thing, and I'm perhaps not as hopeful as you guys, but so that would obviously lead me to say, yeah, I don't think it'll go particularly well. My big hope is that we avoid the wild card. That's looking less and less likely. But if we can avoid those 3 games, give the guys a bit of a rest, put some pressure on the team we're then playing, get to a 5-game series where you'll have Scooble pitching twice, Mize might pitch twice. I don't think it's impossible that the Tigers could do something. Just now, it's a weird thing to say when I see them so far off the pace. So if we go into the wild card series, I don't see it happening. If we can avoid that, I think it makes a difference. And to non-baseball fans, that might sound really weird, because it's like all you're doing is effectively getting a bye from one game, but you're taking the pressure off some of your guys. It's probably worth highlight as well. The Tigers, it's going into the 9th now, and they're 3-1 down. The issue I've got is it's a classic 6-pointer. This, isn't it? We can lose, but our rivals are winning, and so we can lose 3 in a row. So our rivals win 3 in a row. They could still win 3 in a row elsewhere, but the fact they're doing it against us, really makes a difference. The other thing you're trying about the strength of your finish, the strength of the whole season is relevant as well. Someone presumably works that out at the start of the season, but that's subject to the vagaries of what actually happens with your teams there. So, yeah, don't have a lot of confidence. Seattle, I think, yeah, I know you're shocked. I've changed. Seattle, I think Dave Jr. mentioned it, a strong pitching rota there. That's what you need. They're on form, they're steady, they're solid. You've got to have a little bit of hope.
Yeah. I mean, and for the Mariners more than any other team in baseball, it is the hope that kills us with our unique failures in the postseason history as well, and failure to make a World Series. But yes, if we can get there, and I don't think, and I absolutely agree with Dave Jr., we're lucky in Seattle to have a really, really strong pitching rotation. I don't think, partly through injuries, it's quite hit the heights that it did last year, but it's still very strong. The hitting has really come together in this last kind of incredible run that the Mariners have had as well. So it feels like we're hitting the right kind of form at the most important time of the season. But like the Tigers, a lot will depend on can we nudge past the Astros to win the AL West. If we can do that, then it really does open up. I think I wouldn't like to be in the playoffs taking on the Yankees because something about the Yankees in the postseason gives me the fear. If it was to be that situation where the Astros win and we're in via the wild card and potentially against the Yankees, but it's certainly, I think we will stand as good, if not better, a chance as we have probably in 20 years since that remarkable kind of 116 win season in terms of what we should be able to do in the postseason. But what about the Red Sox, Dave? Because I'm conscious that to get there, you'll probably have to fight harder just to get there and secure your spot than the Tigers or the Mariners. I think, will that stand you in good stead if you make it? Because it will mean you've come through a right scrap to get there.
I don't know, because there's something that Dave said earlier about, you're starting pitchers, it's a long season, and I think something I listened to today that every time they've had a rest day recently, they kind of reset the starting rotation and given them an extra day's rest. So, like Crochet has been pitching on, 5 days rest instead of the normal four. That wasn't the case this time around. So he's pitching tomorrow. And I think it looks like they may lose tonight. They're 5-2 down. So that's, they must win that game. And you might even see them starting him on short-term rest. So that puts even more pressure on the arms. So if they do get to the postseason, I can possibly see him. I don't know. I haven't really sat and worked out, but he's pitching tomorrow. He definitely will pitch another game. I wouldn't be surprised, if it was on the line and they needed to win the last game. He's in the line, he's pitching on 2 or 3 days rest again. So yeah, you must. That's what you've got to do. You just got to get to the post series to the playoffs, haven't you? But if you've used up your pitchers like that, then all of a sudden you're up against, I saw a graphic yesterday that said the postseason picture, if the season finished yesterday, and it would be Boston against Houston, and they were the ones who knocked us out. And the last time we were in the playoffs, which is 2021, so that will be a tough series, and you really want all your aces and your starting pitchers to be as fresh as possible. So I think they'll just about sneak in, even if they lose tonight. I've got faith in them, but it's going to be tough, and even tougher. I'm not sure really whether they've got it to go all the way this time. I'm not sure if they get a couple of guys back. If Abreu comes back and Roman Anthony comes back, then they'll score a few more runs and give the support that the run support the pitchers need. So yeah, it's a lot of ifs and buts in it, but it is exciting, and you're better to be in with a chance than be out of it completely. So sorry, Dave, I didn't mean it to sound quite like that. But that's the thoughts from Fenway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know the White Sox obviously are always your focus, Dave Jr., but you have had the chance and you know a lot about our teams as well. So how do you rate the Mariners, Red Sox or Tigers chances if they make the postseason?
Again, I don't see any reason why not. If I had to plump, I would go National League this year. I think the American League is much of a muchness. There's no one particularly outstanding. And the thing I said about the Mariners earlier, Richard, I'll try to cover off before we finish up. The Mariners, I feel what I was trying to say is that they're the most well-rounded team in terms of offense and pitching. But then coming back, when I'm talking about a Skubal or a Crochet, if all you need are 1, 2, or even 3
top pitchers. It doesn't matter who your number 4 and 5 guys are. If you can get the job done early in those series, so it really might come down to who your ace guys are. Are they refreshed? Are they ready to go? And can the offense get behind them? And for that reason, out of the 3 teams, I'd actually lean towards Boston out of the 3, going a little bit further. But if I'm going to have to guess, I would go National League with the Brewers. Actually, I put a wee bit of money on a couple of weeks ago, the Brewers to beat the Red Sox and to win it all.
Good stuff.
Sorry, Dave.
No, that's cool. I'll probably settle for that.
Good to catch up, everyone. Enjoyed that. So.